Ladies and gentlemen, greetings and welcome to Let's Talk Theory, the show where we analyze some idea and hypothesis around our favorite subjects. I'm your host, Zelrix, and today we're staying in the spooky theme of October and merging it with something else I really like, the world of Japanese animes. The world of Japanese anime, there are many schools. Some prefer the Neketsu genre, worshipping Dragon Ball, Naruto, and One Piece. Other people do prefer shorter series like Akame ga Kill or my favorite anime Full Metal Alchemist. Then finally, the fan of psychological thrillers are not interested in the world of Japanimation, and among every anime that deals with the human psychology, there is one particular that had a very dedicated fan base. I'm talking of course about Death Note. The story of Light Yagami is still relevant today, and the fans have theorized many times about it, not acknowledging the fact that they might have corrected the biggest plot hole in the entire series. Obviously, I have to throw a big ass spoiler warning here, and this video will deal with dark themes such as death, suicide, and murders, so if your soul is too sensible for it, you might want to watch an episode of Caillou instead. Don't watch Caillou. Don't. So today, we're merging two well-known theories together to come up with our own theory that answers one question. Did Light really lose at the end of Death Note? Alright, you're all warned, you're all set, so without further ado, let's talk theory. At the end of Death Note, we're confronted to a pretty big plot hole regarding the character of Misa Amane. In the 13th tome of the manga, she commits suicide, something that is not shown but is strongly hinted in the anime. But in this world, when a Shinigami gives their life for a human, the human's lifespan increases by the lifespan that was left to live by the Shinigami. That was incredibly hard to pronounce, sorry. Even though Misa's lifespan was cut in half 2 times, she managed to get the lifespan of not 1, but 2 Death God. She should have lived for centuries, but she committed suicide a little bit more than a year after Light's death. To explain this plot hole, we have to theorize on it, obviously. Fans know that Death God can see the remaining lifespan that a human has above their head, and this lifespan includes any kind of death except one, death by Death Note. It would mean that somebody else would have a Death Note, somebody that we don't know, and would have written Misa's name in it. Or maybe it is somebody that we do know. Somebody that we do know very well. Who would have killed Misa? We have 2 pretty interesting possibilities in my opinion. First of all, it might be Ryuk deciding to take back all the years Ren has given to Misa. That, or could Light Yagami himself have killed Misa? Somebody else having a Death Note was our first theory, but this is where our second theory comes in hand, one of the most popular and pretty well-known theories on Death Note, the fate of Light Yagami. Back in the first few episodes of Death Note, Ryuk told Light that a human using a Death Note is not intended to go in heaven nor hell after they died. Many fans have then theorized that the human that uses the Death Note will die and become himself a Shinigami. When you think about it, that also seems like the only way to create new Shinigami in this world. I mean, what is the less traumatizing of these 2 images? You write somebody's name on a notebook and you then become a dead god, or these things can actually bang. After that, many fans, me included, watched the Death Note Relight movie, a movie that crunches every single important part of the anime in a 2-hour film. You see, Shyamalan, that's how you adapt something beloved by millions into a digestible bite. Is that so complicated? Is it? Sorry. I get cranky when the last Airbender movie pops up into my head. Let's just move on to Death Note Relight. The plot of this movie includes a Shinigami that is unknown to us, the viewer, that goes seek Ryuk for him to tell the new Shinigami his story. So we know for sure that this movie happens after the end of the anime and the manga, and thus after Light's death. And that's how one of the best theories in the entire Japanimation was born. This Shinigami is actually Light Yagami after his death. I mean, he looks like Light, he has the same hair color, and his red bandana actually makes echo to the red tie he was wearing for a good part of the anime. And look at his eyes. They are red, the same red that Light Iris's becomes when he starts to monologue about the Death Note. To be fair, Light Yagami likes to monologue a lot. I mean, it's not Kaiba level where he just stands there instead of playing card for 10 minutes, but still. Even at the end of the second opening, we can see Light Yagami standing in the Shinigami realm, something that does not happen in the series, but perhaps could foreshadow what's coming for Mr. Yagami. And one of the most unsettling things about this theory is the fact that the Shinigami that could be Light actually brings an apple to Ryuk. In Death Note, apples do have a strong sense of symbolism. Some people might see it as the apple Lucifer forced Eve to take before she was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. Some other fans of the series sees the apple as a symbol for the complicity between Light and Ryuk. So the fact that this Shinigami brings an apple to Ryuk is a strong clue that he is indeed Light. But every theory has some haters and some counterparts, and one of those counterparts here is the fact that if Light remembers the apple, how come he doesn't remember his entire life? I have an hypothetical answer to that. Have you ever made a dream that was so realistic that when you woke up you felt like you shifted through realities, but 10 minutes after waking up you only remember half the dream. 15 minutes later it's only a bunch of flashes, images and sound. Perhaps after dying it is exactly what happened to Light before he was reincarnated. His memory was not wiped out, but it was damaged, probably due to the reincarnation and the traumatic events of his death. I mean, being shot by one of your best friends is a pretty traumatic event if you ask me. And even the opening image from Death Note Relight is one of the closing images of the original series, a pen shot to the sky, symbolizing Light's soul being elevated towards the realm of Shinigamis. And during the story, Ryuk says that back then Light was not a god. Back then. So the billion-dollar question is Ryuk referring to the god Light wanted to become, or the one he did become after dying? But then what happened? Light remembered his story as Ryuk was telling it, and he descended to our world as a true god this time. But every good megalomaniac has its arch nemesis. Lex Luthor has Superman, Firelord Ozai has Avatar Aang, Donald Trump has every American citizen with a shred of human decency, and Kira will not make exception to the rule. So perhaps on Earth, who could stop a dead god? Somebody who knows about the Death Note and who has the power of the dead god's eyes. Misa Amane. When we start putting 2 and 2 together, we uncover the fact that Misa was the perfect first target for Light as a new god. She was too much of a wild card, so being dead she would not be a threat, and killing her as a dead god would grant Light with her remaining lifespan. She was supposed to live decades, even perhaps centuries. If you remember correctly, Light decided not to take the dead god's eyes, so he will reign on his world as long as possible, and now not only he has the power, but he has the power to extend his own lifespan like a living god. Oh, that little motherfucker must be in heaven right now. This theory fits the character perfectly. Light does have a hero complex, he has a megalomaniac ego, and he has a small, teeny, tiny bit tendency to declare himself as the new god of the world. After that, we can imagine that it is only a question of time before he finds Nier and the rest of the police force and execute them, perhaps in public, making them example to whoever might defy the new god of death of this world. But that means that Kira won. He is back in our world, ready to claim it as his own. He has become a god, ready to slay anybody who will get in his way, and becoming the true symbol of pure justice. I know that there is a follow-up to Death Note now, but first of all, I like this theory way too much not to share it, then one doesn't negate the other. tell me in the comments what would you do with an actual death note, and I'll be sure to call the police if necessary. Subscribe and activate the bell to be notified when a new video comes up, then follow me on Instagram to support my artwork, and as always, thanks for watching.